cannot give the proof that I'm sitting around making haram something that Allah made lawful, because most things in life are lawful. Most things in life are lawful. The haram has been clearly defined by Allah. And this is what made the Christians and the Jews turn enemies to Allah, because they listened to their scholars. They allowed their scholars and their rulers, to change their religion, to change their books with the legal and the unlegal. And Allah speaks about this in the Quran. Allah says in the interpretation, the meaning, they have taken their learned men and their monks and the Messiah for lords aside from, and they are commanded to worship the one God. There is no true God but He. So here Allah is speaking about the Jews and the Christians. The Prophet explained this verse. The Prophet said, the people said, "Oh Prophet, how did they worship them?" And the Prophet said, "Did they not make legal for you what Allah made illegal, and you deem it as lawful? And they legalize what Allah has made legal and make you think it's illegal?" He said, this is worshiping them. The same way we see Muslims today. You want to give me some fatwa telling me it's haram for me to teach, and you're going to give me some opinion from some jerk I never even heard of who you call some sheikh. Okay? That ain't good enough. A piece of paper from some sheikh is not good enough. If it's haram for me to give dawah, then you better give me the verse from the Quran, or give me the authentic hadith from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Don't give me the opinion of Sheikh Timbuktu and how he took a couple of verses and twisted them around to try to make them mean what he wants them to mean. Do you guys understand? Because people do this every day. They will read Humpty Dumpty went up the wall and Humpty Dumpty had a great fall, and they'll turn it around and say that means the sun rose yesterday and set 2 years ago. That's how ignorant people are. They will take words and twist them around to mean things that they don't mean. If something is haram, it has to say this is unlawful clearly. Allah doesn't speak in riddles, and Allah does not have any hidden messages. If it's unlawful for me, if it's unlawful for me to show my face, then you have to bring forth the clear verse from the Quran that says women cannot show their face. You cannot give me a hadith from Sheikh so-and-so that says black birds were in the air and the black birds flew over the people, and that means a woman got to cover her face. That ain't how Allah operates. He doesn't operate by omens. He doesn't operate by birds. He don't need omens to express himself. Allah is a better speaker than any of us. He's a creator of language, and he's clear. He's not ignorant. He doesn't need to speak like that. A black bird over my head does not mean I have to wear niqab. Okay? So again, guys, only Allah has this authority. If we sit back allowing our scholars and people of knowledge to make things haram, then we're no different than the Jews and the Christians were. So thus the obedience of the Christians and Jews to their learned men with regards to illegalization and legalization is considered as worship and major shirk, which contradicts the Tawheed, okay? Which is what we profess when we say La ilaha illallah. So thus when you take your shahada and when you recite those words of the shahada every day, when you pray, when you are performing the tashahud, you are testifying that only Allah has this exclusive right to make things lawful and unlawful. You are testifying that you will not obey anyone, any scholar or anyone else in matters of illegal and legal matters over a law. You are testifying to that every day, but how many of us follow it up? Very few. Okay? So now that brings us to the big question that many people ask. What happens? So what happens to a person who does rule by the laws of man? Or what happens to a person who takes the laws of man over the laws of Allah? Well, Allah tells us, and I want you guys to pay attention to this. This is all from the Quran. Allah has described those who do not rule by what He has said. He put these people into three different descriptions. Number one, Allah says, whoever does not rule by what Allah has revealed, then they are kafirun, which means they are unbelievers. That means they're kafirs. They're unbelievers. I didn't say it. Allah said it. Whoever does not rule by what Allah has revealed is a kafir. That's one. Also Allah says, whosoever does not rule by what Allah has revealed, they are also that dalimun, which means oppressor. Dalimun, that means they are an oppressor against themselves. How do you oppress yourself? By giving in to sins. And also Allah says in another verse, whoever does not rule by what Allah has revealed, they are also fasikun, which are sinners. So a person can fall in any three of these categories. If you are a person who does not rule by the laws of Allah, either you can be a kafir or an oppressor or a sinner. And let me speak about all three different ones now. Okay? How can I become a kafir? What is it that makes me a kafir in regards to the rulings of Allah? Whenever you believe that it is permissible to rule by other than what Allah has revealed, this is how you become a kafir. Everybody understand that? Let me repeat it. Whenever you believe that it's permissible to rule by other than what Allah has revealed, this makes you a kafir. And what is the evidence? The evidence lies in the following verse, where Allah says in the interpretation, the meaning, so it is the rule of ignorance that they seek. Okay, everything that opposes the rule of Allah constitutes the rule of ignorance, guys. Also, another evidence is the definite consensus that it is not allowed to rule by other than what Allah has revealed. So if you think it's lawful to do so, this makes you a kafir or an apostate. Just like if you, for example, Allah tells us in the Quran that fornication is haram. Allah tells you fornication is haram. If you think it's lawful, that makes you a kafir. Anytime, guys, you oppose what Allah says. Let me give another example. There's a lot of Muslim women that think that it's permissible to not wear hijab. They will argue with you. They will debate this with you. They believe that it's okay to not wear hijab. They are kafir. Whenever you believe it's permissible to do the opposite of what Allah has told you to do, this is when you become an unbeliever. So this is how you become an unbeliever in regards to taking laws over law. Okay? Also, You can become a kafir if you believe that ruling